Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our next live session. I'll be your producer for our session, but before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel. With that, I'll turn it over to our speaker for today. Thanks for joining us.
All right, can you all hear me? Hi, Sharmila.
Hello, long time, Nitya.
Hey, we're back and we're doing this again. So for everyone on the stream, thank you all for joining us. This is season 3 of Model Mondays. Sharmila and I have been doing this for like 2 seasons now, and we're super excited. In retrospect, we shouldn't have set this up December 1st, just days after Ignite. But the good news is there's a lot for us to share with you. So Sharmila, how was your Ignite?
It was great. I mean, lots of interesting updates and some great models that got launched and announced. And again, so much news on I guess, IQ, Foundry IQ, and so many IQs. So it was very interesting to see all that land really well. And this was the first Ignite where I saw for every session, the rooms were jam-packed. People were interested in learning more, and there was interest throughout the 3-4 days that we had the conference. So it was amazing.
Microsoft Foundry branding changed, and this year I got a chance to do pre-day labs. It was packed and it was busy. But that's actually a good segue, because today, one of the big news items at Microsoft Ignite when it came to the Microsoft Foundry announcements was Model Router. So we're super excited to have Sanjeev Jagtap from that team, the principal lead for Model Router, with us. And we'll talk to him in just a minute in our Tech Spotlight section. But first, as usual, Sharmila kicks things off with news highlights. What are the interesting things that happened in the Microsoft Foundry space in the past week? Sharmila, do you want to take us away?
Yep, let's get started. Hello. Welcome everyone to week news highlights on Model Mondays, and we're going to see what's new in Microsoft Foundry. It's been a while since we met on Model Mondays. I'm excited to share. There's a lot of interesting news to share, both from Ignite and even before, and even from last week before we went on Thanksgiving break. So let's get started. So first and the most important news, which you might have seen at Ignite, was Anthropic models now being available in Microsoft Foundry. And this is the big news, of course. And then, of course, last week on Monday, we actually launched Claude Opus 4.5, which is the latest and greatest Claude model from Anthropic. And it was a sim chip. We launched it at the same time as it was available on Anthropic platform, and it's now available in public preview in Microsoft Foundry, GitHub Copilot, and Microsoft Copilot Studio. And this model, the best thing about this model is it brings sharper reasoning, better context handling, and improved alignment for tasks when nuance and safety matters. And for developers and enterprises, this means more flexibility because you can now choose between different frontier models, and we can actually boast that Azure is the only cloud platform that has both OpenAI models and the best Claude models. So you can play around with them and easily benchmark them within the same platform. So go ahead and try it out today. Now moving on, there's of course a lot of news that landed at Ignite for OpenAI models as well. And one of the things that we launched was the GPT 4.0 audio models. And the Foundry team just released a developer guide for using the audio-enabled version of GPT-4o. And what this means is you can build voice-powered copilots, chatbots, or multimodal agents all running on Azure. And if you go to the link here, the guide includes details on how to handle speech to text, audio input output, and integrate audio flows alongside standard text and data pipelines. And coming to agent news, so long gone are the days when agents forget everything at the end of the session. The new memory feature in Foundry Agent Service lets your agent retain context across sessions or interactions. That means your apps, whether it supports bots, copilots, or multi-step workflows, can remember user preference, previous tasks, or long-term state. So why does this matter? Now building stateful, intelligent agents has become more practical, and this is more than a convenience. It's essentially for any real-world use case where continuity and context matters. Example, customer support, personal assistance, enterprise workflows, I mean, pretty much everything. So this is a huge step. Now moving on, again another agent news. Foundry's new multi-agent workflow support means you're no longer limited to a single AI brain. You can now architect systems where multiple agents work together, planning, delegating tasks, collaborating to solve complex problems, or chaining steps into workflows. Think of it as turning AI models into a coordinated team rather than a lone assistant. So again, why does this matter? Complex tasks like research pipelines, document processing, summarization, and compliance checks becomes far more achievable, and multi-agent workflows let you build AI orchestrations, not just solo instruments. And finally, our fifth highlight for this week is around red teaming. And powerful AI means powerful responsibilities. So last week in Foundry, we launched AI Red Teaming Agent, a built-in tool to help you stress test agents before deployment. It simulates adversarial prompts, corner cases, and risky inputs to surface vulnerabilities, hallucinations, biases, or unsafe outputs, and this lets you block or improve on risky behaviors before they reach production. And actually, why does this matter? Again, when you deploy agents at scale, especially for enterprise or public-facing applications, trust and safety are non-negotiable, and red teaming capability baked into Foundry gives you a safety net so you can innovate with confidence. And that brings us to the end of Model Monday's weekly highlights, and I will pass it over to Nitya.
Hey, Sharmila. Oh my God. I was so happy. I was actually trying to put the URL in the
Oops, did we lose you, Nitya?
It looks like she froze.
Oh, I have no clue what's going on. Maybe there's some technical difficulty that Nitya is facing. So I would like to keep.
I was happy to see the red teaming one because we actually ran a red team. Can you all see me okay?
Yeah, actually, we lost you for a bit, Nitya. I think your streaming was cut off.
Yeah, perfect. So I was like, everything was spinning, but I think that makes sense because our next segment is the tech spotlight, and I am super happy to have Sanjeev Jagtap here. Sanjeev is the principal PM at Core AI that has led the charge on getting Model Router out into GA at Ignite. So Sanjeev, welcome. This is your first time on Model Mondays live.
That's exactly right. Can you all hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great. Yes. Yeah, that's why I was trying to get my mental model right, because this is my first time. And so I was a little confused by the flow, but now I understand. And so here I am, yeah, speaking live, and I guess you can see me live. All right. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, was this, I know a Model Router was big news at Ignite, and we have a bunch of slides to go into, but before kind of we do that, can you tell us a little bit about, who you are, what team you work in, and
Sure.
what kind of the goals are for Model Router this year?
Totally valid question. Yes, since especially this is my first time around. Yes, I'm a principal PM in the AI Foundry and models team. Usually, if you have seen me in my LinkedIn post, you will see I've been doing a lot of launching of the OpenAI models for the last 12, 16 months within our team, and now taking a step back into the platform and product side of things, starting with Model Router, which has actually surprisingly, not surprisingly, I guess, with the problem we're solving, it's become big. Ignite was great. Yeah, a lot of really awesome response from customers and partners and everyone else, direct and indirectly, secondhand feedback on the product and the need and the problem it solves. Yeah, good
Yeah,
Ignite as well.
I will say that I had a chance to actually present a Model Router very early in AI Tour, and it was one of the most packed theater sessions ever. And a lot of people came to the expert meetups at Ignite, kept asking about it. So, I think the word is out there. But I'm going to start sharing the slides if you want to kind of talk through
Yeah,
the main points of Model Router for us. Yeah.
yeah, sounds good. I mean, in a nutshell, Model Router will dynamically select the most optimal LLM for your prompts. It does it on a per prompt basis, and the value prop is, of course, the fact that you really don't have to pay um, for your most expensive model on all your scenarios, on your workloads, on your prompts, all the time, right? And so, especially with the explosion in models that we have right now, customers are looking for ways to scale their AI use while still controlling moderating costs and latencies and providing an excellent user experience to their customers. And so, all of those, that's kind of the problem in the sense, just like any other tech that becomes commodity over time, suddenly, and everyone wants some kind of an intelligent routing and not have to do with the complexity of selecting, right? Whether it's your network router, whether it's a model router, doesn't matter. But the same design pattern now being played out for models as well because of the extremely large number of options available now.
Yeah, and I was super excited to see Anthropic and a whole bunch of new models got added right at Ignite. So let me, you want me to go to the next slide?
Sure. Yes, please go. Yeah, so that kind of takes us to this slide and this is by the way slide presented at Ignite, where we are showing all the new models. So the models in blue are the new ones, where we added more GPT-4o family as well, so more from OpenAI as well, right? And then of course added Anthropic models, DeepSeek from Grok, and then Meta models. And the idea here is that hey, we are model agnostic, we are provider agnostic as Microsoft, as Foundry, and so really the game here is to go broad without hesitation on anything that Foundry essentially we will ship within AI Foundry, because customers want options and choices and flexibility while simplifying their model complexity issues and cost issues. So that is the theme. That was the number one big feature absolutely launched at Ignite.
And I just want to reinforce the fact that anyone who installs a Model Router doesn't even have to do anything. They just get access to all of these out of the box the minute they start using Router, right?
Great point. Yes, and that is the other beauty of it, and that's the way we simplify this for customers, right? So you really deploy Model Router as just another Foundry model, and then Model Router will take care of your deployments transparently. There's one exception though, on that Anthropic model thing, right, where you do have to deploy the Anthropic model first because
Okay.
it's coming through the marketplace. It's not through the flow that other models come in, and so you've got to deploy the Anthropic models first, coming through marketplace, deploy it, and then when you call Model Router, then we'll pick it up if it's there as part of your subscription tenant and so on. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good call out. We should tape a tiny demo of it and put it in the theater session because I know a lot of people are interested in it. Routing modes. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so the other, when we launched Model Router as a preview at Build, customers were very happy. I mean, we could see even organically, even with preview, really the adoption almost, doubling and so on every month, which was awesome to see. But I think the other ask from customers was, hey, this is great. You simplify everything for me. But, we do need some control on this based on our priorities. And so no surprise that right now, Model Router by default does use a balance mode, which is it is balancing both quality and cost, right? Trade-offs when it's making the routing decisions. Now, you may come as a customer, you might have a different, slightly more focused bias on, let's say, quality. No, I actually, I do want to make sure that I'm getting the best quality model for my prompts, right? And that is important for me. Or you could say, I really want to go all out on saving costs, right? and even if the quality bar is a little bit lower. And so those are the kind of the two more levers that we give to customers now. So when you're doing the deployment in AI Foundry using the next gen, the new user interface, and that is why I have the big purple bar at the top as a reminder. That is what you should be clicking to get to these new features in Model Router, right? So if you're used to your old URL and the current classic interface that we're calling it now, you will not find these new features when you go and deploy the model. And also added the sign in and get started button there because the model card URL is great, but I think it can be confusing. Okay, where do I go next? Because you really don't see a call to action to do anything with Model Router itself. And
Yes.
so do click that big sign in button. Then you will see the the purple bar at the top, and that's your stepwise to Model Router. So anyway, but the point is customers can personalize their routing modes, routing behavior according to their preferences.
And hugely do recommend trying out Next-Gen UI and give us feedback. Join the Discord and give us feedback there if you have any comments, because it does really clean up and simplify and streamline your developer workflow. But let me go on to the next one. So model subsets.
Yeah, so this was the other ask, right? And especially as we increase the models from what, 5 to 9 to now 19 or 18, right? Customers are saying we do have model preferences, right? Some customers don't want to use open source models, others do want to use only open source models, and so on. And so this was the other absolutely asked feature by was that, hey, let us select individually the models that we want to get routed for our workloads. And so essentially, you can actually, during deployment again, this will be the second configuration option when you go ahead and custom deploy, is you can select your models individually. You're not limited to just provider families. You can actually select models across families and make up your own custom subset that will be part of your deployment. And by the way, for both these features, you can go back and update your deployment as well later on. You're not stuck with a one-time settings, right? When you do these deployments, give it when you do the changes, give it 5 minutes for your deployment configs to refresh to the platform, but then you can start using the other deployments as well. So you could actually have a cost-based deployment, you could have a quality-focused deployment, right? And then to even do ABC testing and see what works for you. That's where probably customers will try it out now.
I think even on Air2, this was one of the first asks people had. They were like, how do I actually make this customizable to me? Just a quick question. Can they set this through the API or through the SDK as well?
Through the deployment SDKs, API, right? To CLI and so on. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
but not on a per request basis, not through a per request basis. Yeah, when you're calling it. That would be. So that was a thought. That was certainly a plan B, or I guess. Okay, let's take a look at it more carefully because we didn't want to do exponentially increase the complexity for the platform right away from the get-go. Yeah.
So I'm getting questions on the chat already. Do you want to wait till the end and answer them, Sanjeev, or do you want to take them interactively?
Let's see. Can I see that? Maybe I click on the comments tab.
It's on the YouTube chat. Yeah, you can look on the in StreamYard on the comments.
Oh, I see. Got it. Has its own intelligence as well, like routing simple queries to cheaper models. Well, that's okay. Let me.
Can you read out the question before you answer? Because
Sure. No, now I'm scrolling all the way up to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. Is there?
There was one on red teaming. Let me just quickly answer that one. Yes, it's possible. Comes with important security. Yes, someone had asked about red teaming. One thing you have to know is the red teaming agent within Azure, because it is technically adversarially attacking your endpoint. It does put certain guardrails in place to allow it to do so. So if you're going to use things outside, then you need sandboxing. And thanks for answering that, Shara. Go ahead.
So I see a question which says, does Model Router has its own intelligence as well, like routing simple queries to cheaper models and more complex queries to higher model? And that's pretty much the value prop of exactly what Model Router is. I mean, you will find routing in other providers too, I think. But most of those routings is based really for redundancy. I mean, the goal there is redundancy and managing latencies, right? There isn't any intelligence or smartness in those routing. While in Model Router, we started with the intelligence part, right? So it is actually a trained AI model that is looking at your prompt, analyzing it, classifying it, and then we are doing the routing. So that's certainly a first-class feature. All right, let's see. Can Model Router run locally or only in Azure to route from local models? Yes, I think this is something, it's on our roadmap to explore, and I think you will see us doing some things, but no ETA yet. Yeah. How can I estimate then the consumption if routing is done dynamically? Yeah, so you should be able to go into your Foundry, I guess, in your dashboard right? If you select the model or deployment, you should be able to see usage by split by the models themselves. And then from there, of course, yeah, based on the pricing, you can calculate the cost. In fact, that's part of the demo that you will see here. All
So
right.
do you want, okay, so to catch up, I think you were on the Foundry agent service. That's one of the new features that came out.
Yeah, so the other thing was the other wish list was, if you remember, you weren't actually able to select model router in your agents playground, right, for loading up. And now we do allow you to do that. The reason is the team has spent quite a lot of effort on actually expanding and the support for agents, which means being able to handle tools and agent calls across models, being able to understand which models support which tools, and also being able to take in the larger context windows and multi-turn analysis and all of those features, working with Microsoft Research, working with the agents team. That was a large part of the effort, yeah, over the last couple of months before Ignite. So now you have that option as well. And this will keep on improving, remember. This is not a single shot, one shot done here. I think we'll keep updating the models, which is pretty easy to do iteratively. In fact, every few weeks we'll probably update the model every few days as we keep building in the enhancement. So this is an ongoing thing for sure for us.
Yeah, I think that someone, I don't know if it was connected to this, but Bernard had asked, I think you already answered, how can I estimate if consumption is done, consumption if routing is done dynamically. Another question was, I still can see in tracing which LLM the query went to. Is it completely transparent?
Yes. So in the responses, in the chat completion response, in fact, yeah, if you look at the docs there, you will see, you remember there's a model field or the parameter or the attribute in the JSON response.
Yes.
All we'll do is we'll stuff the actual model name in there. And so at any time in the playground or in the API, you will be able to see the model that was routed to. And then from you, if you go back to your Foundry, your Azure Portal Playground, not Playground, your observability thing where you track the model usage. Like I said, if you select model router deployment, you can see usage by split by the actual underlying model.
Yeah, and one of the things I really loved when I saw the first time is that when you go to the monitoring tab, you can also see across all your requests what percentage were answered by each model. You don't kind of just get a single view. It's kind of broken down by the models that answered. Before model route, I don't know if you can see the slide now.
Yeah, I can see the slide now. So this is, I think, before we got into demo, this was a customer who actually shared their story at Ignite. And so just to convey how our customers using this, right? So they had to make enterprise chatbot, 7+ years in operation. And of course, no surprisingly, they solved the problem of which model to use, like all other teams and customers do, which is just select the biggest, baddest, best model, I guess, and then just have it, service their chatbot. And of course, people will have all kinds of queries coming in, even from good morning, hello, good morning, good afternoon, to very complex queries. But the problem was that they could see the latencies and the user experiences dropping off dramatically, right? Thanks to the expensive model being used. And so then they adopted model router, which happened. And so once they adopted model router, what happened was, and that, of course, thanks to that, simple prompts being routed to. There's animation there, by the way, Nitya. So if you can,
there is. Oh, sorry.
yeah, there you go. Now it appears. See, it's a cool build note as well on that slide. So, when this customer, adopted the model router, all they had to do was plug in the model router, right, instead of the big one, the best model, and then suddenly now the model router started routing those prompts dynamically to the right fit or the most suitable model. And so what they saw was, yes, absolutely, no surprise, 50% or actually 85% peak reduction in latencies and so on, and cost, of course, right? So that dropped. But what was interesting to them, and which can happen, is, although we don't say necessarily this can happen in all cases, is they actually saw a quality improvement as well, 15% enhanced quality based on their judging algorithm and the model that was using. So it was a kind of best of both scenario for them. And of course, that leads to higher user satisfaction. More people actually start using your technology, using your applications. Sure. Yeah.
The business impact is really huge. I think this is the demo. I'm going to speed it up a little and get to the point if you want to talk through it. But before that, there was a question on the chat, Sanjeev. I don't know if you can see it. It says, this is from I'm DOC4, I guess.
Yeah, I see it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm working with a unique AI chat kit tool that routes to different agents in the repo based on types of question, math, programming, etc. It works well with just my OpenAI API key. Why add this routing? Let's see. So usually these apps, in fact, you will see in OpenAI's Chat GPT as well. remember, they are all using some kind of a routing model or routing algorithm, right? It could be business rules based, it could be anything based at the back end, right? And so now the question is, a model router value and everything you have to do in AI Foundry is that it allows you to embed this functionality in your applications through the APIs and so on. And that's the big differentiation. Normally, these routing capabilities are all built, embedded into the apps itself, not available as APIs. And now with model router, you can do that and build your own, I guess, tools and application systems, right? And not to mention, it's just another model and deployed on AI Foundry. So you get all the enterprise promises as well, which is important to enterprise customers by a big deal, actually. So that's the value prop here.
Yeah, and I also thought that two things that were important to me is I can actually work with non-OpenAI models as well. They come as part of the pack, so it doesn't matter if I have an OpenAI key or not. And the other one was, I think that you guys do a lot of optimizations on the algorithm because you actually know overall like what kinds of prompts match best to models. So we take advantage of your experience there.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is that yes, there are routers available which say they support hundreds and in fact all models, right? While model router only supports 18, 19 models.
Yeah.
But it's important to point out a differentiation, the quality aspect of it. Even some of the other providers who say we support hundreds of models, if you look at their intelligence part of it, which is the intelligent routing, they support no more than 10 or 20 for the same reason that we are taking our time to go big in a big way. Yeah, but because intelligent routing combined with the business rules and logics and tools-based, knowledge-based routing, and then extending it to task-based mapping and routing as well, it's an exploding landscape. So I think we are really at a very early stage here. I think that's all I'll say for now.
You keep getting questions. So you want to take one more question and then do the demo?
Yeah. So how does rate limiting work, right? When the router calls multiple underlying models. So that's why we say, if you look at the docs, we'll say, hey, we are actually limiting by the lowest common denominator rate limit of the models that we are covering to. Now, of course, we'll keep improving on it. We'll keep getting creative. But right now, that's how we are approaching this problem. So your quotas, your rate limits are really defined by the I guess the models that
yeah, so that could actually be an interesting criteria for the selections I make when I have that model subset as well. I might pick the ones where I will have less rate limiting. That could be a way to go around it.
Yeah, and then the other question is, in real-time release, somehow magic. Can you talk a bit about the implementation approach? This example, vectorize the query. I think all I'll say is it is a trained model, right? It's a trained language model, and all the intelligence is built into the training life cycle of it. And there's a process behind it that goes. That is why we haven't announced 100 models supported, right? We only announced we went from 5 to 9, 15 to 19, and so on. So there's a deliberate process there. That's all I'll say. That's a trained AI model. A lot of other routing providers. In fact, I think there are independent studies here that perhaps we can link to. That routed model router as the best quality, highest quality commercial model. And I think number 2 all up. The first one was some open source, right? BI to BERT model. But again, all the techniques are being integrated into model router as well, right? And then the other question is about context windows. So again, this goes into the implementation, which I think all I'll say is that the model router has a way of, I would say, normalizing context windows to the length that it finds useful for routing. I think if that makes sense. Yeah.
Sounds good. So let me go ahead and play the demo. Sanjeev, I'm going to get it started and move it just so if you want to set the stage for what this is.
Yeah. So this is a awesome demo, by the way, in kind of teaming up with myself and with our field team and demo team, and we all, Nitya here is a big contributor as well. So it's useful because it gives kind of 3 scenarios. The first one you will notice is the chat scenarios, right? Which is what we are talking about here, very typical. And so this is a fictitious company called Zava that we are all using in our marketing. So if you are now seeing any Microsoft marketing material, you will see the Zava company being featured everywhere. So here you will see the demo is showing the simple query being sent to the benchmark model, right? So now think of benchmark model as really usually your most expensive model or the highest quality model that teams will select. And so now this prompt, a very simple prompt, right? It's being submitted to our big heavy benchmark model, and you will see it's taking some time to come back with a response. And now in fact, in my updated demo that you can actually download from that URL that you see at the bottom of the slide, you can download an updated version of the source code and the demo, right? And so the point here is that, it took a while. And this can be really, in fact, in the update demo, you'll find even simpler query. Hey, give me the top 3 features of Java, right? Top 3 products. And you will notice it will take quite a bit of time even to get that information out, right? Versus model router response came back pretty quickly because it used a more efficient GPT-5 mini, right? Product, is that right? It's kind of
4 on mini stuff, yeah, but it's the mini one.
Yeah, 4.1 mini. Yeah. So, and the point is the quality is comparable, which you'll see in the second demo as we move forward. But the idea here is that by switching between, at least in the demo part, again, switching between the two, you can see the difference in the latencies, right, and the responsiveness, which is great for users because no one loves waiting around. Yeah. Even for your best quality model to come back and think deeper about what time of the day it is, and then come back to you. with the time. So now the second demo is more like think of Java as a company, like any company that has departments, and each department has scenarios. So we have 3 departments here: marketing, finance, and development. And again, what this demo is showing is that within each scenario in each department, you have the same prompt being sent to model router and to the benchmark model. And what happens is, so what is being pointed out is the difference in the latencies as well as the cost and the tokens. And so once the demo moves forward, you can see that it's multiple X faster, right, in terms of latencies and significant cost savings, typically 70 to 80 to 90% cost savings. And then in terms of the quality comparison, because then the question comes is, okay, well, how does the quality compare? Right, and I think you will see the videos is accuracy comparison. And again, to point out the fact, all of this you can run on your own, everybody here, by downloading the source code and running it. And you can see the quality came back as very comparable, right, in this case. Now, the updated demo, by the way, when you go to the updated demo in the repo, that is now updated for all scenarios, for all departments. A quality assessment has been tested and validated, and so you will see some interesting update there. Not to mention, now you can experiment with different deployments, remember, with cost-based deployment and quality, and you can see the effect that it takes, which is kind of interesting to see. Yeah.
And I think this is demo 3 with you can load your own data set.
Exactly, yeah. You can load up to 10 or 11, I think, records, and then let the model compare it. So that was it, I think, and that's the value prop.
Yeah, I saw a couple of questions while we were looking at the demo. One was Bernard's asking, model routers mainly solely for inference and not for embedding, right?
Yeah, correct. So we're taking, embedding, yes. Embedding can be part of the technology itself in terms of figuring out which prompts should get routed to which models and so on. But in terms of the actual use itself, it's for inferencing for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. So, I mean, I think that we actually went quite a bit over, and this is a lot of questions. So there was a lot of interest in this model router. So thank you so much, Sanjeev, for spending so much time with us. I do want to say, and we'll put the link up at the end, that Sanjeev will be on Foundry Fridays AMA this Friday. So if you have more questions, do join us. The URL will be put up at the end of this slide. And by all means, please do try it out and give feedback. I will say that his team is one of the most responsive and enthusiastic about their product. We love working with them. So if you have feedback, bring it to the AMA. It's this Friday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And thanks again, Sanjeev, for joining us.
Sounds good. Nitya, thank you so much. Awesome to meet everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. And our next segment, which is something we try to add in. So we want to kind of take you down this journey where awareness, with highlights, what just dropped. Tech spotlights give you a deep dive into one technology. But at the end of the day, we also want to give you awareness of real world adoption. So this is a customer story from Microsoft Ignite. The presenter is Nikhil Kumar, who is the Senior Director of Software Development at Adobe. He's not here with us, but if you have questions you put in the chat, we'll try to make sure we give it to them and provide the answers back in Discord. So without further ado, do you want to roll tape on this one?
Thanks for having me here. I'm Nikhil Kumar, Senior Director of Engineering for Acrobat, and Acrobat product is synonymous. Thanks for having me here. I'm Nikhil Kumar, Senior Director of Engineering for Acrobat, and Acrobat product is synonymous with PDF, and PDF is a universal format for the document exchange in this world. And every day, my team is thinking about how do we sort of innovate in the space of the document, how do we make it more streamlined, how do we provide the best possible solutions out there to the users. And we have been embedding AI in the everyday document workflow. And this is something which our users expect, but then this AI really helps our users in terms of creating documents, also consuming documents. And on the consumption side, We have reports where our power users are able to save 2 hours every day when they are sort of interacting with the PDFs and with the documents in terms of the creation side. And when we are talking about time saving, it is extremely important that the experience that we offer to our users is consistent and is snappy, because nobody likes to wait on the screen and then a spinner kind of going on there. So as Setu mentioned, I think 1 second, 1.5 second is a sweet spot where users have an attention span. And that is what we try to target, that for every request, we want to make sure that we serve something to our users. We get something from LLM in less than 1.5 second. I think it is of the order of 1.2 second, and then serve it as soon as possible in the streaming way. So this is a reliability that we want to sort of have in our product and experience we want to provide to our users. And these AI things are no more convenience for our users, because they are using it in their daily work. Both consumers as well as enterprise organizations are using it day in, day out in their work. And this has become an integral part of the enterprise and the user workflow. Just talking about offerings that we have and the solutions we have in the Acrobat, as Marco showed a demo of PDF spaces. But before that, we have an Acrobat AI assistant, and as the name says it is an assistant in Acrobat which can help user in terms of understanding and consuming document. So PDF has existed almost like for 3 decades, and it's a very static format, a static document till this point, kind of few years back. There was a standard way of going through PDF. You start with page 1, go through the entire document line by line, and there was not much that was possible. But all this has been reimagined using the AI models, and we have built our solutions on Azure OpenAI. Now it's a very fairly static document format. You can decide how much time you want to invest, how much time you have, how much deeper you want to go with a document. You can start with getting a summary of the document. You can start sort of asking questions in the natural language and start getting insights about the document. And then we take it to a next level with the PDF spaces. As the name says, it's a space where you can bring in all your document together. We will synthesize information, distill all the data, and then provide the overview, insights about the collection of document, and then allow users in terms of having a dialogue with the document and a document collection. So key capabilities are insight, summarization, Q&A, content generation, and all this is powered through a natural language interface, and all this is something that we have built on Azure OpenAI. The challenge of load spikes. Now, before that, I want to give a sense of the numbers here. We every day process more than 1 million transactions, and what that translates into is more than billion tokens that we process. That load already is pretty huge, so we have a good watermark in terms of the fleet of resources, the PTU that we require in terms of processing that load. But despite that, I think we have a very good baseline on which we sort of operate and all that. But there are certain scenarios and situations where we have certain burst of traffic, and some of them could be like marketing announcements, some influencer videos, some event going on, or in some executive briefing, we really want to have an experience which we want to show, and we want to isolate ourselves from all the noise happening outside. As kind of Setu mentioned, the current PTU offering, we have to pre-commit, and it's inflexible in that sense that whatever capacity planning we have to do, we have to purchase that pool upfront. We are using other solutions that Setu mentioned about prompt caching and then the dynamic spillover, something that we do. But then the problem with the dynamic spillover is pay-as-you-go does not come with the SLA. So it is, if we are lucky, even the pay-as-you-go performs pretty well, but on certain days, I think it can get very sluggish. And that's an experience we don't want to have, because we really kind of, the value proposition of our product is the time saving that the users have. And that slowness is really going to sort of have an effect on that. Now, priority processing solution, this is something that we have been sort of requesting, and this is something we have been working with the Azure team for a long time, and I'm very excited about this offering that is coming out. We are trying it out. Now, priority processing is going to be a hybrid of PTU and pay-as-you-go. The way I look at it this way, that we will get an elastic cluster of OpenAI and LLM models with the SLA. So there is no pre-commitment, but we can simply try it out. Now, the simple way to think of it is that this is really going to help us in terms of having a dynamic scaling of the load, but I think it is going to help us in a more ways than this. And so we are going to sort of use it in the spillover manner that we will have a baseline of the PTU, and then any load or burst on beyond that point is going to move over to the PTU, and then we can have the quality of service without sort of reserving those resources. But what it is going to bring is not just the quality of service. I think it is really going to bring in a lot of operational efficiency. And the thing is that today we are in a continuous cycle of capacity planning. Whenever a new feature is coming, whenever something is kind of getting released, we have to be very, very careful about what exactly is the expected load, how much PTU resources we require. We always over-provision. We are on the side of sort of over-provisioning so that we can manage the quality of service. But still, I think with the new models coming up, with the new workflows coming up, it's a continuous cycle of operational planning and capacity planning. And with the priority processing, I'm really expecting that to get smoothened a lot, that we can really have a baseline, and then we can observe the organic growth of traffic over time. As we absorb more and more organic growth into the baseline, we increase the PTU level and then sort of serve the remaining using the priority processing units. And then the quality of services goes without saying. I think with the PTU, with the priority processing, we can maintain the same quality of service as we have with the reserved units without reserving them, without upfront commitment. And then the 50% cost saving, I want to be careful about it because it's a nuanced thing. I don't want us to walk back that, hey, this is now bring the cost 50% down. It is not like that. If I reflect back and look back at all the spikes that we have handled in the past, and if we were to reserve the resources for those spikes, we would at least require 50% more resources. So now with the PTU, with the priority processing, we don't need to reserve those PTUs. And we have been sort of over-provisioning, but now we can handle that additional 50%. Those are like extreme spikes. It is not that every day we have those, but even with those extreme spikes, we can offer the same quality of service with a 50% less cost and only pay for the additional load burst that we are getting. So this is something which is going to be very useful in the capacity planning as well as in the cost saving side. And then the outcomes, apart from everything, I think the cost saving and the quality of service, one thing which I'm really looking forward to as a head of engineering for the Acrobat Gen AI is the reduced manual review and the capacity planning cycles. I think this is really going to be a big lift in terms of, it will save a lot of time because today we have so many cycles and cycles of capacity planning. And now this is really going to sort of make it quite seamless. Okay, that's all about it. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Marco.
Awesome. That was actually one of my favorite customer stories to date because it talks about two things that I think are important for all of us, even as developers. One is the ability to kind of use things like priority processing to handle capacity planning under load spikes, but also just like understanding how real world companies use AI to streamline their own workflows, reduce time and reduce costs in various operations. So before I kind of move on to the final segment, just want to say that QR code on the screen is to the breakout session at Ignite, a much longer breakout session of which this was a part, where you will be able to find out everything about priority processing and also look at other stories from customers about how they are kind of reimagining their solutions with Azure AI. And with that, we're almost at the end of our session, but I want to leave you with one new thing. I hope you all kind of find this useful. So as you know, my team is really kind of known for building these 4 beginners curricula, open source curricula that'll kind of take you through any given topic step by step in a very kind of beginner friendly manner. So this month we are launching Models for Beginners. It's been a long time in the works, but I'm going to be releasing this one lesson at a time starting from next week. But I want to give you a sense of what this is about, right? So Models for Beginners, if you know, we actually ran a whole bunch of labs at Ignite and Build and AI Tour. Models for Beginners takes everything we've learned and puts it into an end-to-end model development journey. It's going to have 4 tracks, and to start with, there will be 16 lessons. We'll drop 1 lesson each week. So tune in next week for the kickoff and kind of walk you through what you can do to get started. But the 4 parts of this are model fundamentals, model selection, model customization, and observability. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek at what we're trying to do. In here, if you're looking at Microsoft Foundry and you know a lot of new features were released, it turns out that one of the best ways to learn is to learn with a familiar scenario building on a familiar platform. So in this curriculum, we're going to use we're going to use a Microsoft Foundry as a platform, use the enterprise retail scenario as a familiar scenario, and kind of set up this goal where we want to build a customer support assistant that is polite and helpful, cost-effective, factual and precise, and along the way, teach you how to use agents both in the architecture for your solution and in the development process via GitHub Copilot and VS Code. So the big picture is, think of your model developer journey in bright pink over there, that you start off and your boss or someone says, you've got to go build this assistant. Where do you start? First, you need to understand what models are and what their capabilities are. And in that first track, in that first 4 weeks of classes, you'll learn what language models are, which is the basic thing that you need to know about LLMs. Then look at what multimodal models bring to the equation, what reasoning models are, and then why we have things like smart models, like the model router, which are kind of rethink how you actually route your prompts to the right model. Then once you know how these models work, we'll take you into track 2. In model selection, you're going to look at the tools and techniques available to help you pick the right model for the job. So think about how you would use model cards and model catalogs to filter and find the model you want. Think about how to use benchmarks and leaderboards to compare different models. We look at how you can take advantage of playgrounds to try out models with your specific prompt and explore the portal to see what other capabilities are there that could help you in your selection strategy. Last but not least, I want to kind of really talk to you about evaluation-driven development, where when you start thinking about building our application, write your tests first. And now we have new features like simulators, so you can actually simulate data sets for evaluation and fine-tuning. Graders, where you can write a grader that will evaluate that your model or agent is doing what you want it to do, even before you start developing it. So once you're part of that model selection and you move on, the next stage is model customization. Here, what we're really saying is you picked a model and you thought it was going to do the job for you. It was the best model you could find, but you still had gaps. You still needed just that extra bit of accuracy, the extra reduction in cost. What do? This is when you look at things like context engineering. Start with prompt engineering. Look at whether you can add knowledge on the fly. But the real value comes when you start fine-tuning. Can you customize your model with your domain data set? Can you distill the model to reduce costs? And last but not least, what are the cost-effective features that are there in Microsoft Foundry to help you fine-tune cheap for testing purposes, where you only pay for the inference, but not for the hosting itself? And last but not least, my favorite, once you've picked your model, you've trained it, and it's doing its job, your job is not ended, because you've got to keep an eye on the model and see that it continues to perform at the level that you asked it. So here, we're going to look at the end-to-end observability platform, also known as a Foundry control plane, where we look at things like evaluations, red teaming, tracing and telemetry, and monitoring. So if this is of interest to you, tune in next week when we will kick it off with the first lesson. And then keep an eye in December, because we're going to keep dropping these lessons over the course of December. 3 things you need to know in addition to this. We're also going to give you a development environment with tools that will hopefully make you productive. So one of the things we'll use is an AZD template that will set up an application architecture with a single starter agent. You'll learn how to use the AZD tool. Second, you're going to go through the Microsoft Foundry stack and start recognizing all the different features that are available to help you do this model development journey. And last but not least, we want to make sure that at every step of the way, you find assistance in finding the right tools, understanding what's happening, etc. So the Codespaces environment that we've got is set up with GitHub Copilot, and we'll suggest prompts that you can try to build your intuition on your own. I'm really excited for this. This is kind of something that we've been planning for a while. So keep an eye out for that. Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut this out. So keep an eye out for this and join me in Discord, where we will kind of talk through what the next steps are, etc. So that's the Models for Beginners curriculum, and it will be launching in December, first lesson next week on Model Mondays. And with that, the last thing is, please don't forget to join us for Foundry Fridays this Friday, where we'll get to talk to Sanjeev about Model Router. I'll also be there if you have more questions on Models for Beginners. And definitely look forward to seeing you all at the next episode next week on Model Mondays. We hope, fingers crossed, to have the red teaming agent team right here to talk about the latest features from the Microsoft Foundry AI red teaming agent. and share with you a lab that we released at Ignite as well. And with that, I think we're at the end of the session. We ran a little bit over. Going forward, let me know if you find kind of having a study corner segment useful, because I plan to add 10 minutes to the end of each episode with a walkthrough of a particular lab. And just bookmark these 3 resources. So watch live on Monday, register for the next episode at my Model Mondays RSVP, join us on Discord, use the Model Mondays-Discord link. Our AMAs are every Friday. And do start the repo on GitHub if you find this show interesting. It's one of the metrics that we use to make sure we continue to do this. But more importantly, that's where you'll find all the resources, recaps, and other kind of like slides, etc., that come out of these episodes. And with that, thank you all very much for hanging out with me. Super cool that we're starting Model Monday Season 3, and we'll see you all next Monday. Have a great week.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find our survey link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one. Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience.